got so motherfucking design on right now.
Okay, are we ready to dive in?
Ready when you are.
Let's go. We're tackling a question that's fascinated people probably forever. Are we alone in the universe? Our listeners have sent in some really interesting stuff about UFOs.
Or should we say UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena.
Right, UAPs. It's more than just a name change, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of shows, it kind of shows how we're looking at this whole topic now. Like, less about the sensationalism, more like real science.
Yeah, like trading in the tinfoil hats for lab coats.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, we got to talk about Roswell. It's like the OG of UFO stories, right?
Roswell. It's wild how that one event, from 1947 is still so huge. Like, the Air Force, at first, they said they had a flying disc. Then they, totally changed their story and said it was just a weather balloon.
Classic cover-up, right?
Right.
Okay, but Roswell aside, there are tons of other more recent sightings that make even skeptics think twice.
Oh, for sure. Like that Tic Tac thing from 2004. Those Navy pilots off California, they saw some weird stuff.
Trained observers, these guys. They saw it. Radar picked it up. We even have video. Multiple pilots all saying the same thing. They're describing this oblong thing moving like crazy, like stuff our tech can't do.
Right, defying gravity.
Totally. And then there's the Phoenix Lights.
Yeah.
Back in '97, thousands saw this V-shaped formation of lights just hanging out over Phoenix. Like even the governor of Arizona saw it.
Yeah.
Hard to ignore that many eyewitnesses.
Okay.
So it seems like finally the government's starting to pay attention. We're getting more transparency now, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely more open. We know about that Pentagon program, ATIP, that looked into UAPs specifically. And just recently, those congressional hearings, those declassified videos, they're basically admitting, hey, there's stuff up there we can't explain.
Right, exactly. Feels like things are changing, moving from whispers and secrets to actual investigations. So the question is, if these things aren't ours and they're doing things our tech can't, then where do they come from?
I mean, you have to at least consider the possibility that some UAPs could be, alien tech.
Whoa, aliens. Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. What other explanations are out there? You sent me some stuff about that too, right?
Oh, yeah. It could be some super secret tech from, Russia or China. Think about it. They're pouring money into research. They could be way ahead of what we know.
So not aliens, but like a global tech race we don't even know about.
Could be.
Okay, but some of these sightings go way back before that level of tech was even possible, right?
True. So then there's always natural phenomena. We got to consider that. Like weird weather, stuff in the atmosphere that could look like something else entirely.
Yeah, like those atmospheric anomalies, right? You sent a really interesting article about that. Ball lightning, even weird cloud formations, that kind of thing.
Right. And our brains are wired to see patterns even when they aren't really there. So you throw in some stress, some excitement, people see a UFO or there's just a weird cloud.
Easy to jump to conclusions, for sure. So it seems like we've got a real mystery on our hands with some possible explanations, but no definite answers.
Yeah. And that's just based on individual sightings? To really dig deep, we got to look at the science, like astrobiology.
Right. All that research on finding life beyond Earth. So we have folks trying to figure out if UAPs are alien ships and others looking for even the tiniest life on other planets and moons.
Right. And what's really got scientists excited are places like Mars and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, like Europa and Enceladus. They think there could be whole oceans under the ice there, maybe even with life.
It's crazy to think there could be, even microbes swimming around in those hidden oceans. But what about intelligent life? Like civilizations that could build the kind of tech we're seeing in these reports. How do we even start to search for that?
Well, that's where the search for what we call technosignatures comes in.
Technosignatures. Sounds a little sci-fi, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it makes sense. Think of a civilization way, way beyond us, right? They might be able to use the power of an entire star. And to do that, they might build these massive, mind-blowing structures. And those structures we could actually spot from Earth.
So we're not just listening for radio signals. We're looking for, giant alien construction projects.
Exactly. And we're talking about structures so big, so advanced, they'd give off a unique signature that we could detect with our telescopes.
That's pretty amazing. But are we talking about anything specific?
Well, you mentioned Dyson spheres in your research. Imagine like a shell completely surrounding a star, capturing all its energy.
Like a giant solar panel on a cosmic scale.
Exactly. Now, we haven't found any yet, but if a structure like that existed, it would radiate heat differently than a normal star. And that's what we'd be looking for.
So it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but the needle is a giant star-powered alien megastructure.
Pretty much. And there are other signs, too, like weird atmospheres that suggest industrial activity or huge bursts of energy that could be alien engines.
It's wild to think we could find aliens just by looking for the traces of their technology.
It really shows you how creative scientists can be and the amazing tools they're developing.
It's all driven by that human desire to understand our place in the universe. So we've gone from Roswell to these modern UAP sightings. We've talked about alternative explanations, and now we're into astrobiology and technosignatures. But before we jump into what might happen if we actually do find aliens, let's talk about how this whole idea has shaped our culture. You sent over some interesting stuff on that too, right?
You did. Think about it. From like War of the Worlds to movies like Independence Day, aliens have been a huge part of our stories for ages.
And those stories, they show our hopes and fears about meeting other intelligent life, don't they?
Yeah, and it's interesting how those stories have changed over time. Like a lot of older stories had aliens as invaders coming to conquer Earth. But now we're seeing more nuanced stuff like that movie Arrival, where it's more about understanding and communication.
It's like we're growing up as a species,
Yeah.
right alongside our scientific progress. We're moving from fear to curiosity, maybe even a hope for connection.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And that change in how we think, it's affecting how we're studying UAPs now. We're less worried about threats, more focused on trying to understand what's out there.
Makes sense. It really is an exciting time to be alive, to be part of all this exploration. But finding aliens, if it happens, well, that brings up a whole new set of questions, like what would it mean for us? What would happen next? And that's what we'll be looking at in part 2 of our deep dive.
It's kind of mind-blowing, thinking about what could happen if we actually make contact. Like, how would it change us? Our tech, our beliefs, everything.
It's a lot to wrap your head around. You send over some research on different contact scenarios, right? Like, what if it's a friendly contact?
Right. Like, imagine they reach out peacefully, maybe with a message or even a visit. They could be, I don't know, curious about us. Or maybe they want to share their knowledge, kind of guide younger civilizations like ours.
It's that whole sci-fi thing, right? Benevolent aliens coming down with, like, super advanced tech to solve all our problems. Clean energy, cures for diseases, maybe even, like, warp drive. The possibilities are, well, they're endless.
Yeah. But even if they come in peace, there'd be challenges. Just think about trying to talk to a species that evolved on a totally different planet. Different biology, different senses. Their whole way of understanding the universe could be totally alien to us.
Yeah, even basic communication could be a nightmare. It's like, I don't know, what's normal to us could be completely meaningless to them.
Exactly. And then there's the impact on, like, our culture, our societies, our religions, our politics, our art. Everything could be turned upside down.
The ultimate culture shock, for sure. And even if they mean well, there's always the chance of, like, unintended consequence.
Well, absolutely. Like, what if they give us tech we're not ready for? Or accidentally mess up our ecosystem? Or bring some alien disease?
Yeah, the risks are just as huge as the potential benefits.
For sure. So contact, even the friendly kind, would be super complex, something we need to handle really carefully.
No kidding. Okay, so we talked about the good. What about the not so good? Like, what if it's a hostile contact?
Right. Alien invasions, War of the Worlds kind of stuff. That gets a little more intense.
Yeah, more than a little.
Haha, yeah. Yeah. But it's a possibility, so we got to think about it. What if there's a civilization out there that sees us as a threat? Or competition for resources? Or maybe they just don't care about us at all.
And if they're that advanced, I mean, traveling between stars,
Yeah.
could we even defend ourselves?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Some say our only hope would be to, like, outsmart them, be more creative, find ways to fight that they don't expect. Others think maybe we could appeal to their, their better nature, their empathy, or maybe even try to work something out through diplomacy.
It's like David and Goliath, but on a cosmic scale. The whole fate of humanity hanging in the balance.
And hostile contact doesn't have to be an all-out invasion, right? It could be more subtle, like them taking our resources, manipulating our governments, or even just slowly erasing our culture.
Like that classic sci-fi thing, aliens infiltrating and taking over from within. Creepy.
Right. Okay, but let's not forget another possibility. It doesn't get talked about as much, but it's indirect contact.
Indirect contact. What's that?
Think about it. What if we find proof of aliens, but we don't actually meet them face to face? Like maybe we dig up some ancient artifact on Mars, or find a derelict alien spaceship floating out in space, or maybe we just pick up a faint signal on our telescopes.
Like a message in a bottle, but from another world.
Yeah, exactly. We'd know we're not alone, but we wouldn't know who they were, what happened to them, anything.
More questions than answers.
Definitely. But even indirect contact, it would change everything. We'd have to face the fact that we're not special, that civilizations could rise and fall and never even know about each other.
That's kind of sad, isn't it? To think we might just be one tiny blip in the whole history of life in the universe.
Yeah. But it also reminds us that, searching for aliens, it's not just about finding them, it's about understanding our own place in all of this. It's about exploring the possibilities, pushing the limits of what we know.
And it brings up some pretty big ethical questions. Right?
Oh, tons. We already talked about the risks, the communication problems, what it could do to our cultures. But there's also the question of, should we even be looking for aliens in the first place?
Yeah, some people say it's too dangerous, that we're making ourselves a target. Others say we have a duty to explore, to find out what's out there, to connect with other intelligent life.
It's like we're at a fork in the road. One path leads to discovery, knowledge, maybe even something amazing. The other path, well, who knows what's down there. Danger, maybe even, the end of everything.
And we have no idea which way to go.
Nope. And that's part of what makes this whole thing so fascinating, so gripping. It's a mystery that keeps unfolding, that makes us question everything we think we know, that makes us wonder, are we really alone?
It's the question that's haunted us forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably going to stick with us for a long time. But our tech is getting better. We're learning more about the universe every day. We might actually find the answer.
That's the exciting part. We're living in a time where, the line between science fiction and reality is getting blurrier and blurrier.
It feels like we're on the edge of something huge, something that could change everything we thought we knew about ourselves and the universe.
Absolutely. And it all comes back to that one question. Are we alone? It drives us. It sparks our imagination. It pushes us to explore.
And as we continue our deep dive, we're going to be looking at the very latest in the search for life beyond Earth. The best evidence, the most mind-blowing theories, and what could happen if we actually do make contact. So get ready, because things are about to get really interesting. It's amazing, really, to think about how much effort has gone into looking for alien life. I mean, we're talking centuries here, right? Myths and legends, and now all this incredible science.
And the way we see the universe has changed so much. For the longest time, we thought Earth was at the center of everything, totally unique.
Yeah, that we were all alone. It wasn't until, pretty recently that we figured out just how vast and how many possibilities are out there. You sent some stuff about the latest discoveries, and it's mind-blowing, the sheer number of stars and planets.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to grasp, right? Just in our own galaxy, the Milky Way, there are, hundreds of billions of stars, and then there are billions of galaxies. It's crazy. And with every new telescope we launch, every probe we send out, we keep finding more planets, a lot of them in that habitable zone where things might be right for liquid water, maybe even life like ours.
It's like a cosmic gold rush finding all these planets.
Yeah.
But with so many to choose from, how do scientists even begin to look for life?
Right. That's where astrobiology comes in. They're looking for what they call biosignatures. Basically, it's anything that says, hey, something biological is happening here, like certain chemicals in a planet's atmosphere, or even the way light reflects off its surface.
So kind of like being a detective, but on a cosmic scale, looking for clues to life.
Exactly. And they have some pretty amazing tools to work with now. Telescopes that can analyze light from distant planets, probes that can sniff out the gases in alien atmospheres. We even have rovers like on Mars looking for signs of life, past or present.
It's pretty incredible what we can do now. But even with all this tech, actually finding proof of alien life, that's still got to be really hard.
Oh, yeah, it's a huge challenge. But you know what they say? Just because we haven't found it yet doesn't mean it's not out there.
Right, like trying to find a specific grain of sand on a beach doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just means you got to keep looking.
Exactly. And it's important to be open-minded about what alien life might look like. We tend to think of it like us, but it could be completely different. Different chemistry, different ways of getting energy. Maybe their idea of intelligence is something we can't even imagine.
So no little green man. Maybe it's like sentient clouds of gas or giant silicon creatures or something so weird we don't even have a word for it.
Exactly. And that's what makes the search so exciting. It's like stepping into the unknown, pushing the boundaries of what we know about life, the universe, everything.
And, you know, even if we never find aliens for sure, the search itself changes us. It makes us question what we think we know, makes us appreciate our own planet even more.
I agree. Searching for life out there, it's not just about finding aliens, it's about understanding ourselves better, what it means to be human.
It's about realizing we're part of something so much bigger, that our planet is just one tiny part of this huge universe.
And that can be both humbling and kind of inspiring, wouldn't you say?
Totally. And it could even be a wake-up call, right? If we are alone, we have to protect what we've got. And if we're not, well, we better learn to get along with each other first if we want to have a chance with some alien civilization.
Yeah, it's a good point. If we can't even figure things out here on Earth, how can we handle meeting someone from another planet?
Exactly. This search for alien life, it's not just about science. It's about philosophy, our culture. It reflects our hopes and our fears, you know.
It really does. It gets to the heart of who we are, where we came from, and where we might be going as a species.
Big questions. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here, from those early UFO sightings all the way to the most advanced science and the implications of actually making contact. It's been an incredible journey. Thanks for guiding us through it all.
My pleasure. And remember, keep looking up, keep those questions coming, and never stop being curious about the universe.
Great advice. And to all our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed it. Keep those minds open, those imaginations going, and who knows, maybe one day we'll finally have the answer to that big question. Are we alone? Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.